A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
Bill Maher fired some scorching shots at the Democratic Party for its failure to confront a woke crowd that's plagued it over the past decade. Maher argued that since this radical faction played a major role in last year's election loss, the DNC should have distanced itself by now. But instead, the party keeps pandering to the fringe left, digging itself even deeper into political oblivion. Maher's takedown was so sharp it sent shockwaves through the DNC. Let's dive in.
But you never hear anyone bragging about being a liberal. There's no liberal Bob Schmohawk as a liberal who wants to enact more liberal policies. Democrats might want to think about what that means, because the implication is you're embarrassed by what liberalism has become, that the term is now irredeemably coupled with woke nonsense, which is a shame, because despite their nonsense, it's still generally a better product. But what does it say about your brand if you don't want to say what you are?
Maher torched the DNC for what he called their chronic embarrassment about their own identity. He argued that Democrats seem almost ashamed of their political heritage, constantly apologizing for their past instead of owning it. In contrast, Maher pointed out that Republicans embrace their roots without hesitation. They're proud to be conservatives and never miss an opportunity to declare it boldly. Whether you agree with them or not, the GOP stands by its values with confidence. The DNC, on the other hand, seems trapped in a cycle of self-doubt, desperate to please everyone while losing sight of who they are. Maher's point was clear. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And in today's polarized political arena, a party that hides in perpetual shame is bound to keep losing to one.
So much of liberal politics nowadays is identity politics, and yet it seems we found the one thing liberals won't identify as: liberals.
Now, let me pause here, because this is absolutely true. Liberals today seem eager to identify with any marginalized group, no matter how obscure or fringe, as long as it signals moral superiority. They'll defend every ideology that surfaces on social media, no matter how hollow or self-contradictory it sounds. But when it comes to defending liberalism itself, they go silent. It's almost as if they're afraid of their own philosophy, terrified of being labeled intolerant or out of touch. Instead of standing firm on principles like free speech, open debate, and individual liberty, the very foundations of liberal thought, they become prisoners of their own political correctness. Maher's criticism cuts deep, because it's true. Modern liberals don't debate anymore. They cancel, they conform, and they hide behind hashtags instead of ideas. And that, Maher warns, is why
James Carville knew how to win, and he blamed the Democratic losses this November 2nd on stupid wokeness, to which AOC fired back that wokeness is a term almost exclusively used by older people these days. So that should tell you all you need to know. What? This is a term folks like you brought out very recently and had been proudly displaying at every march since. Just last year, The Guardian declared woke the word of our era. I guess they didn't get the memo from the Mean Girls Club. We don't use that emoji anymore. Woke, please, we say fetch now.
This is interesting. So now the woke crowd is suddenly running from a very term they once championed. Just a couple of years ago, they couldn't stop shouting it from the rooftops, proudly calling themselves woke as if it were a badge of moral enlightenment. They flooded social media with hashtags, lectures, and self-congratulations about being more aware, more evolved, and more compassionate than everyone else. But now they're quietly distancing themselves, pretending the word never existed or that it was somehow misused by critics. It's fascinating how fast a movement can abandon its own label the moment it becomes inconvenient. The same crowd that once weaponized the term to shame others is now scrambling for cover as it backfires spectacularly. Maher's point lands perfectly here. If your beliefs can't survive their own slogans, maybe the problem isn't the word, it's the ideology behind it.
What a great strategy, never missing an opportunity to remind voters how lame and clueless and hopelessly uncool they are, especially since those are the ones who actually vote. But okay, fine. What word would you like us to use for the plainly insane excesses of the left that are not liberalism but something completely different. Because you can't have that word liberal from us and think it should cover things like canceling Lincoln and teaching third graders their oppressors. That's all your new thing.
It's almost poetic that the woke crowd now finds the term woke offensive and is sprinting away from it. But here's the catch. They're not running from the ideology itself. They're just rebranding the same nonsense under new names. The same ideology that insists men can be women, that men can get pregnant, that people should be hired or promoted based on skin color instead of skill. That's all still there. They've simply scrubbed off the word woke and replaced it with something more palatable, hoping no one notices. But make no mistake, the mindset remains the same. Anti, common sense anti-reality, and completely detached from the everyday concerns of ordinary people. The woke crowd might have ditched the label, but not the lunacy. As Maher would say, changing the name doesn't change the problem. It just makes the hypocrisy easy to hide.
A more pertinent question to ask about the word woke might be, why in such a short time has it gone from a rallying cry to a pejorative? If the word only made you think of rational, deserved causes like teaching a less whitewashed version of American history, AOC would still want to own it. But it's a joke, because it makes you think of people who wake up offended and take orders from Twitter, and their oversensitivity has grown tiresome.
The woke crowd, beyond their anti-common sense ideology, seems to live in a constant state of outrage. Nothing ever pleases them. If there's nothing in the present to be offended by, they'll dig through centuries of history just to find something, a quote, a statue, a painting, that can fuel their next moral crusade. It's as if they've made victimhood a full-time occupation. And when they do find something that offends their delicate sensibilities, they don't just criticize it, they cancel it. Great historical figures, artists, and thinkers are being erased from memory because their words or beliefs don't align with 21st century Twitter standards. Maher is right to mock this hysteria. It's not progress, it's regression. A society that constantly rewrites history to avoid discomfort isn't enlightened, it's fragile. And that fragility, Maher warns, is exactly what's eating away at the Democratic Party from within.
Said I would love to have AOC on this show. There's so much to admire there. I was one of her first supporters for the Green New Deal idea. But that will probably never happen because Democrats don't go anywhere these days where they're not pre-adored. And that's my last bit of advice to them. Go where the amen corner isn't. Do Fox News. Be brave. Come here. Go everywhere. Winning is about expanding the electorate.
I highly doubt Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would ever agree to an interview where her views are seriously analyzed or challenged. Let's be honest. She prefers interviewers who toss her softball questions and let her spend the entire segment bashing Republicans and Donald Trump. Anything beyond that, and she's suddenly too busy or selective about her media appearances. AOC represents exactly what's wrong with the modern Democratic Party, a culture of political comfort zones. The DNC only engages with networks that already agree with them, creating a safe echo chamber where no tough questions are ever asked and no accountability is ever demanded. Maher's frustration with this mindset makes perfect sense. A movement that can't defend its ideas outside its own bubble isn't a movement with confidence. It's one with fear. And fear, not conviction, is what now drives much of the Democratic conversation.
Democrats who 1 year from now will be licking their wounds and asking themselves how they could have lost the midterms so badly must instead ask themselves that question now. Now. You know, now. Like, while there's still time to do something about it.
And I completely agree. Nearly a year after their election loss, the Democrats are still struggling to gain traction in the polls. Despite all the media spin and political posturing, they haven't convinced voters that they can handle the country's biggest challenges. Meanwhile, Trump continues to dominate the conversation on key issues: the border, the economy, national security, and America's standing on the world stage. Say what you will about his personality, but Trump has a sharp instinct for what matters most to everyday Americans. While his overall popularity may fluctuate, his grip on the issues that define national concern remains strong. People may not always love his tone, but they trust his toughness, and that's something the Democrats still haven't figured out how to match. Because slogans and safe talking points can't compete with policies that actually...
A couple of weeks ago, Amy Klobuchar was here, and when I suggested the Democrats need a messaging czar, she offered me the job. Well, you need a messaging czar in your party.
And do you think it should be you?
Amy, I'm flattered. But after careful consideration, I must decline. The hours it would take me away from home would make it very difficult on my family. But I will tonight once again break out my coach hat and try to point the Democrats in the right direction. That's all I can do.
Maher's absolutely right. The DNC desperately needs a messaging czar because right now their communication strategy is a complete mess. No one can recall what Kamala Harris's core message even was during the 2024 election run-up. It was all over the place, scattered, inconsistent, and hopelessly fixated on appeasing the fringe left instead of speaking to mainstream America. The party seemed more interested in virtue signaling than in offering real, relatable solutions to real problems. What they need now is someone who can bring clarity, coherence, and conviction back to their messaging. Someone who can translate complex policies into language that resonates with working families, middle America, and independent voters. Because until the Democrats learn how to connect with ordinary people, no amount of hashtags, slogans, or celebrity endorsements will save them. In politics, if your message doesn't land, nothing else really matters.
I know liberals think this country is full of dumb white people, but in our democracy, dumb white people make up a substantial portion of the vote. The median voter is a white person in their 50s who didn't go to college, their favorite TV show is NCIS, and their pronouns are what? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and get away from me. In 2008, Republicans only won 4 Virginia counties by more than 70%. This month, in the governor's election there, they did it in 45 counties. And this is what a lot of Democrats were told was the reason for that. Glenn Youngkin's win proves white ignorance is a powerful weapon. Racism still works in Virginia. It's not the messaging, folks. This country simply still loves white supremacy.
It's this very kind of messaging that has dragged the DNC into the mess it's in today. A tone-deaf, self-righteous narrative that blames everyone except themselves. The so-called woke messaging makes it seem like every problem in America is a fault of conservatives, corporations, the media, or some vague societal injustice, but never the Democratic Party's own failures. Whenever they lose an election or slip in the polls, they scramble for scapegoats instead of accountability. Maher's frustration cuts to the core here. The DNC has become addicted to deflection. Instead of self-reflection and course correction, they double down on the same tired rhetoric. Until Democrats own their mistakes and reconnect with reality, they'll keep watching their credibility and their voter base erode.
Tell you what I have ruled out is vote Democrat because white people suck. That's... It's like trying to get laid by saying, you're ugly, you want to dance? You're alienating a whole lot of people, particularly whites without a college degree, which is most of them, in a country that's still 70% white. I'd say do the math, but math is a form of white supremacy.
In the end, Maher's takedown of the Democratic Party wasn't just brutal. It was necessary. He exposed the cracks that everyone else pretends not to see. The obsession with woke ideology, the lack of clear messaging, and the unwillingness to face reality. The DNC keeps chasing approval from the loudest minority instead of listening to the silent majority. Until they rediscover courage, accountability, and common sense, they'll keep losing ground to candidates who actually understand the pulse of the nation. Maher didn't destroy them for sport. He did it to remind them what real leadership looks like. And this brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next.